Find the distance between the 2 points. Well, I have 2 points on a coordinate plane. And I have a hard time being able to tell how long that is from dot to dot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line there, dot to dot. And I'm going to turn that line into the hypotenuse of that right triangle there. So I have a right triangle, and I need to find the missing side, which I'll call that C, and I'll call you A, and I'll call you B. So A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Now, we already know that it doesn't matter which one you call A or B as long as the longest side is C, which is extremely important to remember today. All right, let's see how long A is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So A is 7. And B is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. B is 6 units long. So you use a Pythagorean theorem. A is 7 squared plus B is 6 squared is going to equal C squared. What's 7 squared? 49. What's 6 squared? 36. What's C squared? C squared. 49 plus 36 ends up being 75. No, 85. Is C all by itself? No. What is in the way? Squared. So how do I get rid of that? Square root. Square root. Boom. I don't know what the square root of 85 is. I know that the square root of 81 is 9, so this is just going to be a little bit higher than 9. Square root of 85.
The square root of 85 is approximately 9.21954.
9.21954. And that's going to be our answer. So what we did is we used good old Pythagorean theorem to determine to find the missing side of a right triangle. Now what we're going to do is called the converse. Get it? The converse of the Pythagorean theorem, where I give you all 3 sides, and my job is to determine if it's a right triangle or not. So if the equation a squared plus b squared equals c squared is true for the side lengths of a triangle, then a triangle is a right triangle. So what the converse of the Pythagorean theorem is saying is if I give you all 3 sides, they must follow the rules of the Pythagorean theorem in order for it to be a right triangle. If they don't follow the rules of the Pythagorean theorem, then it's not a right triangle. So a squared plus b squared has to equal c squared. If it does, then it's a right triangle. If it doesn't, it's not a right triangle. And that's what we're doing today. So I have to see if this is a right triangle or not a right triangle. What I have to do is it doesn't matter which one I call A or B as long as the longest side is C. So 41 is the longest side. I'll call you A and I'll call you B. I need to make sure that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I need to make sure that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So I have to make sure that 9 squared plus 40 squared equals 41 squared. If it does, then I have a right triangle. If it doesn't, then I don't have a right triangle. 9 squared is 81. 4 squared is 16. So 40 squared is 16 with 2 zeros attached to it. 41 squared.
41 raised to the second power is 1,681.
So 81 plus 1,600 is 1,681. That equals on the right side 1,681. So did a squared plus b squared equal c squared? Yes. Then is this a right triangle? Yes, this is a right triangle. That's it. You're just testing the Pythagorean theorem by plugging it all in. The old Glade special. Plug it in, plug it in. Tell whether the triangle is a right triangle. Okay. So I am going to say that 24 is my C. 18, it doesn't matter which one you call A or B as long as the longest side is C. So 18 can be my A and 12 can be my B. All right, so I need to make sure that A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Which means I need to make sure that 18 squared plus 12 squared equals 24 squared. 18 squared.
18 raised to the second power is 324.
I know that that's 144 because I have it memorized. 24 squared.
24 raised to the second power is 576.
324 plus 144.
It's 468.
So on the left side, I get 468. On the right side, I get 576. Do they equal each other? No, which means it's not a right triangle. So in the previous problem, when I did all of my math, they equaled each other, which meant it was a right triangle because it followed the Pythagorean theorem. And in this case, when I did all the math, they didn't equal each other. Therefore, it's not right because it doesn't follow the Pythagorean theorem. That's it. So if they equal each other, it's a right. And if they don't equal each other, it's not a right. All right, are the following lengths the sides of a right triangle? In order to find the lengths of a triangle that is right, or see if something is right, I have to use what's called the Pythagorean theorem, which looks like this. Now, what I have to be careful of is C always represents the longest side. If this is meant to be a right triangle, you would have to be my longest side. So I can call you A, I can call you B, and I just plug it in and see if it works. A, 6 squared, plus B, 4 squared, has got to equal 10 squared in this case. 6 squared is 36, 4 squared is 16, 10 squared is 100. 36 plus 16 is certainly not 100. So in this case, the question, is this a right triangle? No, it is not, because the math does not add up. Nice camera skills, bro. Not. I just did a not joke. Oh, you hear my 3-year-old screaming? She's having a good day today. So tell whether each triangle is a right triangle or not. Well, it doesn't matter which one you call A or B as long as the longest side is C. So I have to call you C because 1.23 is bigger than 1, which is bigger than that. So I have A squared plus B squared equals C squared. 1 squared because I called A 1 plus B, which is 0.75 squared, has to equal C, which I called 1.25 squared. 1 squared is 1. 0.75 squared.
0.75 raised to the second power is 0.5625.
Okay. 1.25 squared.
1.25 raised to the second power is 1.5625.
I'll need a calculator for this one. 1 plus 0.5625 is 1.5625, which is what I got on the left, which so happens to match up with what I have on the right. So is this a right triangle or not a right triangle? It's right. It's right. It's right. Because these two guys ended up being equal to each other. So I'm going to create a poll, and the poll is simply right or not right. Set a timer for 2 minutes.
Okay, 2 minutes and counting.
And in 2 minutes, we'll go over our answers. All right, the poll is up for when you guys are ready. $19. Okay, so there's the results. Those of you who put the answer in, let's make sure. That's the longest side, so I have to call you C. It doesn't matter which one I call A or B as long as the longest side is C. So I called A 21 here. 21. I called B 20. And I called C 28. I think it's 441. 21 squared.
21 raised to the second power is 441.
20 squared is 400. 28 squared.
28 raised to the second power is 784.
So when I add the two numbers on the left, I get 841. On the right side was 28 squared, and 28 squared ended up being 784. Those two numbers don't match up, so this is not a right triangle. Not a right triangle. Okay. Let's do it again. I'm going to give you 2 minutes for this orange guy. 2 minutes for this orange guy. You have to figure out if it's a right triangle or not. Set a timer for 2 minutes.
Okay, your timer is set for 2 minutes.
About 30 seconds. So I have to call 45C. Doesn't matter which one I call A or B as long as the longest side is C. There's the results. 36 squared plus, oh, hello, plus 27 squared has to equal 45 squared. Remember, C is the longest side. 36 squared.
36 raised to the second power is 1,296.
27 squared.
27 raised to the second power is 729.
45 squared.
45 raised to the second power is 2,025.
1,296 plus 7,000. 1,296 plus 729.
It's 2,025.
So since those two numbers match up, what we have is a right triangle. So yes, this is a right triangle. Let's do it again. Set a timer for 2.5 minutes.
Your timer is set for 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Quiet. All right, so I already wrote down a lot of what I needed. I have to call the longest side C, and 17 is the longest number, the biggest number out of all of them. It doesn't matter which one you call A or B, as long as the longest side is C. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So I called A 8, I called B 15, and C is 17. 8 squared is 64, 15 squared is 225, 17 squared? 17 squared.
17 raised to the second power is 289.
64 plus 225.
It's 289.
So does 289 equal 289? Let me see. Because I added those up and I got 289. That equals. So is this right? Yes or no? Set a timer for 2 minutes. Do the pink one.
Your timer is set for 2 minutes.
So C has to be 8 or 11.5. Doesn't matter which one's A or B as long as the longest side is C. 8 squared plus 8.5 squared equals 11.5 squared. 8.5 squared.
8.5 raised to the second power is 72.25.
1.5 squared.
1.5 raised to the second.
11.5 squared.
11.5 raised to the second power is 132.25.
64 plus 72.25.
It's 136.25.
So close, but not close enough. Close, but not right, which means it's not right. Set a timer for 2.5 minutes.
Your timer is set for 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Do the next one. All right. A, B, C, easy as 1, 2, 3. It doesn't matter which one's A or B, as long as the longest side is C. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So I called A 14. I called B 19. I called C 23. I already know what 14 squared is. 19 squared.
On it.
On it faster, please.
Working on that. Something went wrong.
19 squared. 19 squared.
One sec.
Oh my gosh. Where's my calculator? 19 times 19 is 361. 23 times 23 is 529. 529. 196 plus 361 is 557. Do those two guys equal each other? No. So is this a right triangle? No. Ooh, class is almost over. Let's skip this one because time is running out. Which of these is the largest? Well, if it helps, let's put it as decimals. 9 over 10 is 9 tenths. 1 1/5 is 1.2. And 1 1/2 is 1.5, which means you have to be C, and you can be A, and you can be B. So I have A squared plus B squared equals C squared, or right? 0.9 squared plus 1.2 squared has to equal 1.5 squared. 0.9 squared is the same thing as 9 squared with the dot in front of it. 1.2 squared is the same thing as 12 squared with a dot there. And 1.5 squared is the same thing as 15 squared with a dot. 0.81 plus 1.44.
It's 2.25.
So the left side was 2.25. The right side was 2.25. Was that a right triangle? Yes. Yes, that was right. That's a G. Oh, G. G, 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 unit. A traffic sign has side lengths of that 12.6 inches, 12.6 inches, 12.6 inches. Is the sign a right triangle? I'll give you 15 seconds to look at those numbers, and I'll start the poll. Ten, 9, guess. 8, 7, guess. 6, 5, guess your answer. 4, 3, 2, 1. Which one's the longest side? Which one's the longest side? They're all the same. So is there a longest side? No. Which means, could it be a right triangle? No. The whole point of right triangles is to try to figure out which one the longest side is. And if there's no longest side, then it's not going to be a right triangle. Fun. That was a tricky one. I like it. I mean, we could have just done the math, but what's the fun in doing the math when we don't have to? So your friend determines whether a right triangle with side lengths of 3, the square root of 58, and 7 is a right triangle. They did it right. So they did it right. They said 7 has to be the longest. 3 squared is 9. The square root of 58 squared is 58. 49 is what you get. They don't equal each other. That symbol means is not equal to, so it is not a right triangle.
Okay.